Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Conspiracy theories claiming 5G technology helps transmit new coronavirus have been condemned by the scientific community. Videos have been shared on social media showing mobile phone masts on fire along with the claims. The posts have been shared on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, including by verified accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers. But scientists say the idea of a connection between COVID-19 and 5G is complete rubbish and biologically impossible. Many of those sharing the posts are pushing a conspiracy theory, falsely claiming that 5G, which is used in mobile phone networks and relies on signals carried by radio waves, is somehow responsible for the new coronavirus. These theories appear to have first emerged via Facebook posts in late January, around the same time the first cases were recorded in the US. They appear to fall broadly into two camps. One claims 5G can suppress the immune system, thus making people more susceptible to catching the virus. The other suggests the virus can somehow be transmitted through the use of 5G technology. Both these notions are complete rubbish, according to Dr. Simon Clark, who is an associate professor in cellular microbiology at the University of Reading. In other news, the private sector in the OECS is responding in a meaningful way to a call from the OECS Commission to help fight against COVID-19, the coronavirus which has been killing thousands and devastating economies across the globe. Massy Stores St. Lucia has responded with a substantial contribution towards the purchase of much-needed ventilators. The COVID-19 pandemic continues its rampage across the globe with over 60,000 deaths worldwide. The OECS region is not immune to COVID-19 and is now facing potentially its biggest health and economic crisis. The OECS Commission issued a call for all to partner in the fight against the deadly new coronavirus. A call for partnerships went out specifically to the business sector.
The main objective of this partnership really is to raise needed resources for onward redistribution throughout all of our member states in the Eastern Caribbean.
Managing Director of Massy Stores St. Lucia, Martin Dorville, was among representatives of the private sector responding. He presented the OECS Director General, Dr. Didicus Jules, with a check of $100,000 as a contribution to the fight against COVID-19.
We understand the very important role the private sector can play in this fight, which is slowly becoming a huge humanitarian effort. Collaborating with the OECS Commission allows us to leverage our resources and bring much needed support to the people of the region at this very critical time.
We are really pleased that Massy has stepped forward at this time with this generous contribution to facilitate the purchase of ventilators for the member states in which they operate. Our primary emphasis at this point is on saving lives and containing the spread of contagion.
Dr. Jules went on to add that this is a fight for survival and the governments of the OECS cannot go it alone.
I want to appeal to the private sector to pitch in to augment the resources that we are actively soliciting from all possible sources. The OECS Commission has gone to all of our diplomatic partners, all of the countries with whom we have diplomatic relations. We've gone to all of our development partners, we've gone to the international private sector, and we are getting good traction of support from these entities.
The call was echoed by the Massy Managing Director.
In all this, Massy Stores St. Lucia and Massy Stores SVG St. Vincent remains resolute and steadfast to being a force for good in the communities that we serve and throughout the region.
The OECS Commission says it needs support in three key areas to support its member states: the acquisition of medical supplies, education and continuity tools for displaced students, and strengthening strategic communications and advocacy to increase sensitization and encourage changed behavior.
In this regard, we reached out to the private sector, and to date, the response has been phenomenal.
It is the hope that many more private sector entities will rally to the call from the OECS Commission as COVID-19 mercilessly devastates large and small economies. A 4-year-old female tiger at the Bronx Zoo has tested positive for the coronavirus. The tiger, named Nadia, is believed to be the first known case of an animal infected with COVID-19 in the U.S. The Bronx Zoo in New York City says the test result was confirmed by the National Vet Services Laboratory in Iowa.
Now, a tiger at a zoo in New York has tested positive for coronavirus. The 4-year-old female named Nadia is thought to have contracted it from a keeper at the Bronx Zoo. The keeper did not have any symptoms, though. Now, this is believed to be the first known case of an animal infected by a human with COVID-19. Let's talk to Alan Radford, who's Professor in Veterinary Health Informatics at the University of Liverpool. Can you confirm for us that this is the first confirmed case of an animal being infected by a human?
Hi, good morning. That's not probably quite true. We've been aware, perhaps from the end of last week, that there have been very rare cases of pets living with COVID-19 patients who have tested positive, a little bit like this tiger, just 2 or 3 cases. And we've also, just last week, seen some early evidence from Chinese researchers that have shown that cats and ferrets, and to a certain extent dogs as well, can be infected under experimental conditions. So maybe not quite the first, but it's certainly the highest profile.
And this will worry many viewers, many of whom do have cats. Are cats more vulnerable than other animals?
I think of the species that researchers have looked at, that seems to be true. Obviously, researchers are rightly most focused on human infection and human disease, but there are now scientists turning to animals and looking to see what species are susceptible, and the cat seems to be, with the ferret, the 2 most at-risk species.
I need to clarify, because I'm sure viewers both in the UK and around the world will be very keen to have completely clarified that even infected animals will not transmit to a human, that this is not an animal-to-human transmission at this stage.
Yeah, I think people can be reassured by that. We can never say never. I think that's important to say. Most people on this planet who become infected, and there have been over 1 million people infected now, most people will be infected by people, but there is a risk. There is a risk there that animals could transmit it, particularly cats, and I think we can take some sensible small precautions to minimise that risk.
And I suppose one thing that may also give some reassurance to pet owners who love their cats dearly is that cats so far seem to have fairly mild symptoms.
Yes, that's true. There's been a cat in Belgium that I think was clinically normal. The tigers in Bronx Zoo had mild signs.
And Dr. Radford, I do apologise, I'm going to have to cut you off because we have to leave you now. You're watching BBC News.
Now, given that supermarkets will be opened as of Tuesday, we're taking you to CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta as he demonstrates the proper way to wipe down groceries or takeout items before bringing them into the house, and how to remove contaminated gloves without compromising your hands.
This is a question that Cheryl sent in to CNN.com, which reads, can COVID-19 be contracted by ingesting it on produce from the supermarket? Sanjay?
So it's interesting. You're not. This is not a foodborne illness. I just want to make that clear, because a lot of people think if you eat this virus because your food's been contaminated, could you get it? You can't. I mean, this is a respiratory virus. So it's more a question of the packaging. You just have to think about is there any risk of contamination in other ways? But you're not going to get like a GI type thing from eating the virus.
But so Sanjay, if people feel compelled to sanitize their groceries, I know, just like we did with the hand wash, and we asked you to film a tutorial. So let's take a look at this.
Okay, people do need to grocery shop, obviously. Try and limit the number of times you go to the grocery store. That'll just allow you to keep better social distance. And keep in mind, this is not a foodborne illness. You're not going to get it from eating the food, and it's very unlikely you're going to get it from packages. But we do know the virus can live on surfaces, for example, steel and plastic for up to 3 days. I've used a little glitter here for my kids to show you what the virus might be like. We know they can live on cardboard, for example, up to 24 hours. So what I've done here is I've created a dirty area and a clean area. This was a suggestion from Dr. Van Wingen up in Michigan. Here's my dirty area. I'm just going to clean all the virus off here. Don't need to do too much. It's a pretty sensitive virus. You don't need to use any kind of specific wipe either. Any household cleaner will do. And then once I'm sure I got this clean, I put this into the clean area. And again, for cardboard, it's typically going to be closer to 24 hours. Just get all those surfaces pretty well. Once you're confident about that, I get all the glitter off in this case, then I put this in the clean area. Now, one thing I do want to show you, if you are wearing gloves, and you don't need to wear gloves, the biggest key is how you take them off. You want to make sure you don't contaminate yourself. So you grab the inside of the glove here and pull it over itself, and then I grab with my finger over here from the inside and pull that over as well, and I drop that into the dirty area also. Finally, I clean my hands one more time.
So, but just two things, just to be clear, you don't need to wear gloves, you're saying,
Right.
and also any wipe will do. I mean, like a Kleenex or a dish towel, or needs to have soap on it, or
Yeah, I don't think you need to have a particular type of wipe, but some sort of cleaner, something like that. It's a pretty sensitive virus.
so it doesn't have to be what do you want to call it, like a Purell kind of thing.
No, it doesn't have to be a Purell. Even a spray type cleaner or something like that you might use on cloth or whatever. It's a virus that responds. Will be affected by that pretty easily. So that's just an example of what you can do. That's what we've started doing in our house, and leave packaging outside if you get takeout food and still keep social distance. But it works pretty well.
Okay, but still, the majority of transmission is person to person.
Right, and respiratory droplets that are in the air. You can touch surfaces and then touch your eyes, nose, or mouth, which
Right.
is why I think it's a very low likelihood for it to happen off of groceries and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think being cautious, especially at this time, is a good idea.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Sports and weather are coming up after the break.